The transport ship smelled like fear and unwashed bodies. Sat in the corner of the metal cage, his hands chained to the wall. Around him, 40 other humans waited in silence. They all knew where they were going. The Crystalline Palace, the place where servants went to die. Through the small window could see the gas giant 7. It was beautiful, he thought. Purple and blue clouds swirled across its surface. Above it, like a diamond floating in space, was the palace. It caught the light from 3 distant suns and threw it back in 1,000 colors. Beautiful things could still kill you. Had learned that lesson 3 years ago when his home city burned. The ships had been beautiful too, right before they fired. The woman next to him was crying softly. Her name was. She looked young, maybe 20. Too young to be here. Too young to die in some alien palace because she poured tea wrong or looked at someone the wrong way. Is it true, whispered, what they say about the queen? Looked at her, her eyes were red from crying. What do they say? That she kills a servant every day, sometimes more, for no reason at all. An older man across from them laughed. It was a bitter sound. Not for no reason, he said. His name was, and he had worked in the palace before. They had caught him trying to escape. She always has a reason. The tea is too hot. The floor is not clean enough. You breathed too loud. You looked at her wrong. Every reason is a good reason when you have all the power. The ship shook as it began to dock. Guards came to unlock their chains. They were guards, tall and thin with skin that looked like glass. Their eyes had no pupils, just black pools that reflected everything. Move, one of them said. His voice sounded like wind through broken windows. They walked through corridors made of crystal. Everything in the palace was crystal or glass or something that looked like frozen light. His work boots made too much noise on the floor. He tried to walk softer. Around him, the other humans did the same. They were all learning the first rule already. Make no noise, cause no problems, maybe you live another day. The palace was huge. Saw rooms that could fit his entire apartment building inside. He saw gardens that grew under artificial suns, with plants from worlds he had never heard of. He saw servants everywhere, and they all had the same look in their eyes. Fear. They were taken to a processing center. A clerk gave each of them a uniform, gray and simple. No pockets, no belt, nothing they could use as a weapon or to hang themselves with. Smart thought. They had done this many times before. You are property of Empress now, the clerk said. He did not look at them while he spoke. You will work until you are released or until you die. Most of you will die. The average survival time is 43 days. Try to last longer. Made a small sound like a wounded animal. Wanted to tell her it would be okay, but he could not lie. It would not be okay. They were assigned to different sections. Got sanitation duty, cleaning, mopping floors, washing walls, making sure every surface in the palace shined like new. It was better than some jobs, he supposed. At least he would not have to serve the queen directly. For 3 days he cleaned. He learned the palace layout. He learned which hallways to avoid when certain nobles walked by. He learned that they did not see humans as people. They were tools, useful until they broke. On the 4th day, saw his first execution. He was cleaning a hallway near the throne room when he heard screaming. Not a scream of pain, a scream of pure terror. He looked up and saw guards dragging a woman toward the throne room. She was human. Her name was. She had been working as a translator. Knew he should look away, should keep cleaning, should pretend he saw nothing. But his feet carried him forward. He stood in the doorway of the throne room and watched. Empress sat on her throne. It was made of something that looked like frozen starlight. She was beautiful in the way a knife was beautiful, sharp and cold and deadly. Her skin was pure white like snow. Her eyes were silver. She wore robes that seemed to be made of liquid metal. In her hand she held a scepter. It hummed with power. You question my order, the queen said. Her voice was quiet. That made it worse somehow. Was on her knees. Your Majesty, I only asked for clarification. The message was unclear. I wanted to translate it correctly. You questioned me. No, I just... The queen raised the scepter, started to beg. She begged and cried and promised she would never question anything again. She said she had a family. She said she would do better. The queen did not care. The scepter made a sound like crystal breaking, screamed once, then her body turned to ash, just ash. It fell to the floor in a gray pile. The queen gestured to a servant, "Clean that up." Watched the servant rush forward with a brush and pan. The servant was shaking so hard he could barely hold the tools. He swept up what had been a living person just seconds ago. He swept up like she was dirt. The queen's eyes moved across the room. They landed on, he froze. "You," she said, "why are you standing there?" Every instinct told him to run, to bow, to beg, but found he could not move. He just stood there looking back at her. "I asked you a question, human." His voice came out steady. He did not know how. "I was watching." The room went silent. No one spoke to the queen like that. No one admitted they were watching her kill someone. The queen stood up. She walked down from her throne. Each step clicked on the crystal floor. She walked right up to until she was close enough that he could smell her. She smelled like ozone and cold metal. "You were watching me execute a servant," she said, "and you did not run." "No." "Are you stupid or brave?" "Thought about that. Neither. I am just tired." Something flickered in the queen's silver eyes. Surprise, maybe, or interest. She looked at him like he was a puzzle she could not solve. "What is your name?" She repeated. "I will remember that name, for the next few days at least. That is how long you will live." She turned and walked back to her throne. "Assign him to my meditation chamber. He will clean it tomorrow." The guards grabbed and pulled him out of the room. As they dragged him away, appeared in the hallway, he looked at with something like pity. "The meditation chamber," said quietly. "That is where she sends people she wants to kill personally. No one has lasted more than a day there." Nodded. He had expected as much. "Any advice?" asked. Shook his head. "Pray, that is all you can do now." But did not pray that night. He lay in his small sleeping cell and thought about how she had begged, about how the queen had killed her anyway. Begging did not work. Fear did not work. Maybe thought he should try something else. Maybe he should try the truth. The meditation chamber was the most beautiful room had ever seen. The walls were made of pure crystal that caught light and split it into rainbows. Artifacts from 100 conquered worlds lined shelves carved into the walls. There were statues, weapons, books, and things could not even name. In the center of the room was a pool of water that floated in the air without any container. It just hung there, defying gravity, perfectly still. Carried his cleaning supplies into the room. His hands were steady. He had made his peace with death during the night. If he was going to die, he would die on his own terms. The door opened behind him. Empress walked in. She wore simpler robes today, dark blue instead of silver, but she still carried her scepter. She always carried it. "Begin cleaning," she said. She sat down on a cushion near the floating pool and closed her eyes. Started at the far end of the room. He worked carefully, wiping down each surface. The room was already clean. That was the point. This was not about cleaning. This was about finding an excuse to kill him. He worked in silence for an hour. The queen meditated, her breathing slow and deep, moved between the shelves, careful not to bump anything. Each artifact probably cost more than his entire planet. Then the queen stood up. She walked across the room, her path taking her directly toward. He moved to the side to let her pass. She bumped into him. It was not an accident. Saw her adjust her path at the last second. She hit his shoulder with hers, hard enough that the bottle of cleaning solution in his hand tipped forward. Blue liquid splashed across her robes. The silence that followed was absolute. Looked at the stain spreading across the dark blue fabric. The queen looked down at it too. Then she looked at him. Her silver eyes were cold. "You have stained my ceremonial robes," she said quietly. His heart was pounding, but his voice came out calm. "No." The queen's eyes widened slightly. "What did you say?" "No, I did not stain your robes. You bumped into me. You caused this." Guards appeared in the doorway, drawn by the sound of confrontation. Servants peeked in from the hallway. Everyone wanted to see the human die. The queen's hand tightened on her scepter. "You dare to contradict me." "I dare to tell the truth." "The truth is what I say it is." Shook his head. "No, the truth is what happened. You walked into me on purpose. You wanted an excuse to kill me, so kill me if you want, but do not pretend this was my fault." The throne room had been quiet when died. This silence was different. This silence was shock. The queen raised her scepter. The crystal at its tip began to glow. "Kneel." "No." I said kneel. And I said no. I will not kneel for something I did not do. I will not die pretending you are right when you are wrong. The queen stared at him. Her hand shook slightly. No one had ever refused her before. No one had ever stood their ground. Waited for the light to consume him, waited to become ash on the floor. But seconds passed and the light faded. The queen lowered her scepter. "What is wrong with you?" she asked. She sounded genuinely confused. "I have nothing left to lose," said simply. "You took my planet, my family, my life. Death is not a threat anymore. It is just another day." The queen stared at him for a long moment. Then she turned to the guards. "He is assigned as my personal attendant. He will serve me directly from now on." The guards looked confused. So did. "But your majesty," one guard said, "you." "Yes, and he lives because I allow it. Take him to the attendant quarters. He starts tomorrow." The guards grabbed and pulled him from the room. As they walked through the corridors, other servants stared at him like he was a ghost. Found him that evening in the attendant quarters. It was a better room than the sleeping cells, with an actual bed and a window. The view showed the gas giant slowly turning below. "You should be dead," said. He sat on the edge of the bed, looking at like he could not quite believe what he was seeing. "I know." No one refuses the queen. No one says no to her. "I did." Laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "You have only delayed your death. She is testing you now. She will keep testing you until you fail, and then she will kill you." "Maybe." "Definitely," leaned forward. "Listen to me. I have been here for 2 years. I have seen hundreds of servants come and go. The ones who last longest are the ones who disappear, be invisible, be nothing. That is how you survive." "I do not want to survive by being nothing," said. "Then you will not survive at all." But was wrong about one thing, did survive. The next day the queen called him to serve her breakfast. She accidentally knocked over her cup, spilling hot tea across the table. It splashed onto his arm. It burned. "You were clumsy," she said, watching his face. "No, you knocked it over, and I would like medical treatment for this burn." She stared at him, then she called for a medic. The day after, she dropped a priceless vase and blamed him. He calmly explained that he was on the other side of the room and could not possibly have touched it. He offered to show her the security footage. She did not kill him. A week passed, then 2. The queen kept testing him and kept refusing to accept blame for things he did not do. Each time she looked more confused, more interested. Found him in the gardens one afternoon. She had been assigned to garden maintenance. She looked healthier than on the transport ship, but still frightened. "Everyone is talking about you," she said quietly. "They say you have some kind of magic that protects you from the queen." "No magic, just honesty." "That is more rare than magic here." Pulled a dead flower from one of the plants. "Be careful. The nobles are noticing you. They do not like that the queen has not killed you yet. It makes her look weak." "She is not weak. She is just used to people lying to her." That is the same thing in this empire. Was right to worry. That night was summoned to serve dinner at a formal banquet. Important guests from other worlds were visiting. The dining hall was massive, with a table that could seat 50 people. Stood behind the queen's chair, ready to refill her glass or bring her food. The nobles talked and laughed. They ignored the servants completely, as if they were furniture. Then the queen stood up to make a toast. As she did, her arm swept out, knocking over a crystal sculpture in the center of the table. It fell and shattered into 1,000 pieces. Every eye turned to look. The room went silent. The queen looked at, her face was blank. My attendant knocked over the sculpture. How careless. The nobles murmured among themselves. This was it, the moment where the queen would finally execute the human who had her. Pulled out his small, every servant had one, to track inventory and supplies. He pulled up the security feed from the camera above the table. He turned it toward the queen. This footage shows you knocked it over, Your Majesty, not me. The murmuring stopped. The nobles looked shocked. Even the queen seemed surprised. You dare to show me evidence against my own word. I dare to show you the truth. You can kill me for it if you want, but I will not lie, even to save my own life. One of the visiting nobles stood up. Your Majesty, this human is disrespectful. He should be executed immediately. The queen looked at for a long moment. Then she looked at the footage on his. Then she looked at the noble. He is right, she said. I knocked over the sculpture. It was my fault. The dining hall erupted in whispers. The queen had admitted fault. It was unheard of, impossible. The queen sat back down. Someone clean up this mess, pour the wine. Poured the wine with steady hands. Around him, the nobles watched like he was a bomb about to explode. Later that night, the queen summoned him to her private chambers. He went, expecting death. Instead, she sat by a window, looking out at the gas giant below. Why do you do this? She asked. Why do you refuse to lie? Because lying makes me smaller, said. I have already lost everything. I will not lose myself too. You could have everything back if you just obeyed. No, I could have comfort. That is not the same as everything. The queen was quiet for a long time. Then she said something that surprised him. I envy you. Why? Because you are free. You have nothing to lose, so you can tell the truth. I have an empire to lose, so I can never tell the truth at all. She looked tired suddenly. Old, leave me. Bowed and left. As he walked back to his quarters, he realized something. The queen was not testing him to find a reason to kill him. She was testing him to see if truth really existed. And that was far more dangerous. 3 months passed and was still alive. It was a record. The servants whispered about it in the kitchens and hallways. Some said he was blessed. Others said he was cursed, said he was simply insane. But something strange was happening in the crystalline palace. The queen had not executed a single servant in 60 days. Not one. The entire palace felt different, like everyone could breathe a little easier. Notice the change most in the queen herself. She asked him questions now. Real questions. About Earth, about human culture, about concepts he took for granted. What is accountability? She asked him one morning while he brought her breakfast. Set down the tray. It means you take responsibility for your actions. If you make a mistake, you admit it and try to fix it. And if someone else makes a mistake, then they take responsibility, not you. The queen picked at her food. She barely ate these days. In culture, admitting fault is weakness. My mother taught me that. She said an empress who apologizes is an empress who will be overthrown. Maybe your mother was wrong. The queen's eyes flashed. For a moment, thought he had finally crossed the line. Then she laughed. It was a strange sound, like she was not used to making it. Maybe she was, the queen said quietly. That afternoon was organizing the queen's study when he found her. She was sitting at her desk, staring at a small hologram. It showed a younger version of her, maybe 20 years old. She stood next to an older woman who looked like her. Her mother guessed. She died in a coup, the queen said without looking up. Assassinated by her own generals because she showed mercy once, just once. She pardoned a servant who had stolen food. 3 days later she was dead. Did not know what to say to that. That is why I kill, the queen continued. Because mercy is death, weakness is death. The moment you show compassion, someone will use it against you. So you kill people to prevent them from killing you. Yes. How many people have you killed? The queen was quiet for a long time. I stopped counting years ago. And are you safe now, after all those deaths? She looked at him then, her silver eyes were tired. No, I am not safe, I am just alone. Picked up a book from her desk. It was one of the artifacts from a conquered world. Human, actually, old Earth literature. There is a human saying, it is lonely at the top. I think you understand that better than anyone. I do not want wisdom, human. I want solutions. Then stop killing people, see what happens. The queen stood up abruptly. You do not understand. If I change, if I show weakness, the nobles will sense it. They will come for me. Let them come. You are the empress. You have the power. Power is not enough. It has never been enough. But despite her fears, the queen continued to change. Small changes at first. She stopped creating situations to blame servants. She listened when people spoke instead of just waiting to punish them. She even thanked once for organizing her schedule efficiently. The nobles noticed. Lord Or was the most important noble in the palace after the queen. He was old, powerful, and deeply traditional. He had been watching for weeks with undisguised hatred. One day Or approached in the hallway. His guards blocked both ends of the corridor. Human, Or said, his voice sounded like grinding glass. You have bewitched our empress. I have done no such thing. She has not executed a servant in 2 months. She admits fault. She shows mercy. These are not values. These are human corruptions. Looked at the old alien calmly. Maybe they are not corruptions. Maybe they are improvements. Or's hand went to his weapon. Careful, human. You are not protected everywhere. I am not protected anywhere, but I am still here. The noble sneered, not for long. That night came to his room. She looked frightened. I heard the servants talking or is planning something, something against you and the queen. What kind of something? I do not know, but be careful. He has many allies. Thanked her, but he did not worry too much. What could Or do? Kill him. He had been expecting death for months anyway. 2 days later was called to serve the queen lunch. She was in her private dining room, meeting with several nobles, brought in the food and set it on the table. As he poured the queen's wine, she grabbed his arm suddenly. Her grip was tight. She said, I need to tell you something. What is it, Your Majesty? I have been thinking about what you said about breaking the cycle. She took a deep breath. I am going to announce new reforms, rights for servants, accountability laws for nobles. I am going to change how this empire works. The nobles at the table shifted uncomfortably. They did not like this talk. That is good, said. I need you to help me. You understand these concepts better than I do. Will you help me? Before could answer, the queen lifted her wine glass to drink. Eyes caught something, a faint shimmer in the liquid, something that should not be there. He moved without thinking. His hand shot out and knocked the glass from her hand. It shattered on the floor, wine spreading across the crystal tiles. The nobles jumped up, guards rushed in, everyone was shouting. What are you doing? The queen demanded. Pointed at the spilled wine. Even now it was eating through the crystal floor. Small holes appeared where the liquid touched. Poison, he said. The room went silent. The queen stared at the dissolving floor. Then she looked at, her face was pale. Someone poisoned my wine. Appeared in the doorway. Your Majesty, I can explain. Everyone turned to look at him, looked terrified but determined. I saw Lord or servant in the kitchen earlier. He was alone with the wine. When I asked what he was doing, he ran. I tried to get here in time to warn you, but lies or stood up. This is a human conspiracy. The human servant brought the poisoned wine himself. I brought all the food, said calmly. The wine was already here. It was sitting on the table when I arrived. The queen looked at the nobles, then at the dissolving floor. Guards, arrest Lord Or and search his chambers. Or's face twisted with rage. You would believe a human slave over me. I have served this empire for 300 years. And you just tried to kill me, the queen said. Her voice was cold as ice. Take him. As the guards grabbed Or, he screamed at the queen. You are weak. That human has made you weak. Your mother would be ashamed. The queen stepped forward. Her hand went to her scepter. For a moment thought she would kill Or right there. Instead, she said, my mother is dead because she showed mercy once. I will not make her mistake, but I will not make mine either. You will stand trial. You will face justice, not my anger. She turned to, you saved my life. I was just doing my job. Your job is to pour wine, not to protect me. She looked at him for a long moment. Why did you save me? You hate, we destroyed your world. Thought about that. It was true. He did hate what they had done. But this woman in front of him, this tired empress trying to change, she was not the ships that burned his city. Because you are trying to be better, he said simply, and that deserves a chance. That night the guards searched Or's chambers. They found evidence of the poison. They also found plans for a larger conspiracy, or had been recruiting other nobles, planning to kill the queen and take power himself. The queen called an emergency court session. Every noble in the palace was required to attend, stood in the back watching. The queen stood before her throne. Lord Or has committed treason. The evidence is clear. The penalty is death. Or sneered at her from his chains. Do it then. Kill me like you kill everyone. Prove that you have not gone soft. The queen raised her scepter. The crystal began to glow. The entire court held its breath. Then the queen lowered it. No, she said. You will stand trial, a real trial with evidence and witnesses. You will face justice, not my temper. The court erupted in whispers or laughed. You are weak, just as I said. No, the queen said quietly. I am done being what you made me. She turned to address the entire court. Things are going to change in this empire, starting now, starting with me. Later in her chambers, the queen sat by the window again, brought her tea. Real tea this time, checked 3 times for poison. They all think I am weak now, she said. Do you care what they think? I am supposed to. An empress must project strength. You just turned the most powerful noble in your empire into a prisoner without killing him. That is strength. The queen smiled slightly. You have an answer for everything. Not everything, but enough. She looked out at the gas giant. Or was right about one thing. You have changed me. Before you came, I was a killer on a throne. Now I do not know what I am. You are someone trying to be better, said. That is enough. The queen was quiet. Then she said, will you be my advisor officially? I am a janitor. You were a janitor. Now you are the only person in this entire empire who tells me the truth. I need that. I need you. Looked at her. Saw the hope and fear in her eyes. Saw someone who had been alone for so long she had forgotten what trust felt like. Yes, he said, I will help you. Outside the window, the 3 suns were setting. Wondered what his family would think if they could see him now. A janitor from Earth, advisor to an alien empress. Probably that he was insane. And maybe he was. But for the first time in 3 years, he felt like he was doing something that mattered. Even if it got him killed tomorrow. The announcement came 3 days after Or's arrest. The queen had appointed as her chief advisor, a human, a former janitor. It was unthinkable. The nobles were outraged, the servants were confused, was just tired. "You do not have to do this," he told the queen that morning. "You can still change your mind." "I do not want to change my mind." She was signing documents at her desk, new laws that would change everything. Rights for servants, rules for nobles, accountability. "The nobles will not accept this." "Let them try to stop me." She looked up at him. "I am done ruling through fear alone. If they cannot accept that, then they are not loyal to me anyway." She was right, of course, but that made it more dangerous, not less. The trial of Lord or began that afternoon. The High Court was a massive chamber with seats for hundreds of witnesses. Every noble in the empire wanted to see what would happen. Most hoped or would be executed. Some hoped the queen would be exposed as weak. Sat beside the queen. It felt wrong. He was wearing formal advisor robes now, dark blue with silver trim, but underneath he still felt like a janitor pretending to be important. The prosecutor presented evidence. The poison found in Or's chambers, messages between him and other conspirators, testimony from servants who had seen suspicious activities. Or's defense was simple. He pointed at, "This entire case is a human conspiracy," Or declared. "The human brought the poisoned wine. He staged everything to make me look guilty. And why? So he could take my place at the queen's side." Murmurs spread through the court. Some nobles nodded. It was easier to believe the human was guilty than to accept that one of their own had turned traitor. The prosecutor called to testify. The old servant walked to the witness stand slowly, his eyes on the floor. "Tell the court what you saw," the prosecutor said. Took a breath. "I saw Lord Or's personal servant in the kitchen. He was standing over the wine meant for Her Majesty. When I approached, he dropped something and ran." "What did he drop?" "A vial. It was empty." "Did you keep this vial?" "Yes," pulled it from his pocket. "I was bringing it to the queen when the incident happened." The vial was tested. It matched the poison exactly. The court murmured again, this time in favor. But Or was not finished. "This proves nothing. The human could have planted that vial. He could have bribed my servant to cooperate." "Your servant is dead," the prosecutor said flatly. "He killed himself 2 days ago rather than testify." That silenced Or for a moment, but only a moment. Then the human killed him, to silence him. Had been quiet through all of this. Now he stood up. The court fell silent. "Lord Or said," his voice was calm, "why would I want to kill the queen?" "For revenge. Your kind hates us for conquering your world." "True, I do hate what was done to Earth, but killing the queen does not change that. It does not bring back the dead. It does not free my people." Walked to the center of the court. "If I wanted revenge, there are easier ways. I have access to her private chambers. I serve her food every day. If I wanted her dead, she would already be dead." The logic was undeniable. Even the hostile nobles had to admit it made sense. "Then what do you want?" Or spat. "I want what she wants. Change. A better empire. One where people are not killed for asking questions or serving cold tea." "Weak human nonsense." "Maybe, but this weak human saved her life. What were you doing, Lord Or?" "Oh yes, trying to take it." The court erupted in noise. The judge called for order, returned to his seat. The queen looked at him with something like pride. The trial continued for 3 more days. More evidence was presented, more witnesses. In the end, the verdict was clear, Or was guilty. The sentence was death. The queen stood to deliver it personally. Every eye in the court watched her. This was the moment. Would she execute him herself, as tradition demanded, or would she show the mercy that everyone said made her weak? "Lord Or," the queen said, her voice carried through the silent chamber, "you have been found guilty of treason. The penalty is death." Or smiled. He had won in his own way. The queen would kill him and prove she was still the same monster she had always been. "However," the queen continued, I am commuting your sentence to life imprisonment." The court exploded. Nobles shouted, some in support, most in outrage, or looked stunned. "You cannot do this," or screamed. "I am nobility. The law demands death for treason." "I am the law," the queen said simply. "And I say you will live. You will spend the rest of your days thinking about how you threw away 300 years of service for power you could not hold." She turned to the court. "This is the new way. Justice, not vengeance. Law, not fear. Anyone who cannot accept this is free to leave my service." No one left, but could see the calculation in their eyes. They were weighing their options, deciding if they could overthrow a weak queen. That night found in his new quarters. They were much larger than the attendant rooms, with real furniture and art on the walls. He still was not used to it. "Everyone is talking," said. She looked worried. "Some of the nobles are angry, really angry." "I know. They are saying the queen has been corrupted by human influence, that she needs to be removed for the good of the empire." "Let them say it. This is serious. There could be another coup. They could kill both of you." Poured her some tea. His hands were steady. "I know, but what would you have me do? Tell the queen to go back to killing people to prove she is strong?" Was quiet. Then she said, "No, I would not have you do that, but I would have you be careful." "I am always careful." "You said no to an alien empress who kills people for fun. That is not careful. That is insane." Smiled maybe, but it worked. Left eventually. Sat alone in his room looking out at the gas giant. He thought about Earth, about his family, about all the people who had died. Would they approve of what he was doing? Helping the enemy, serving the empire that destroyed everything. He did not know, but he hoped they would understand. He was not helping the empire. He was helping one person try to be better, and if that person happened to rule an empire, maybe the change would spread. The next morning, was walking through the palace when pulled him into an empty room. "We have a problem," said. "What kind of problem?" "3 governors from other systems have sent a message. They are demanding the queen restore traditional values. If she refuses, they will declare independence." "That is treason." "They call it loyalty to true culture." Looked grim. "They have fleets, armies. If they rebel, it could mean civil war." Stomach sank. "The queen knows. She is in an emergency meeting now. They want you there." The meeting room was full of military officers and advisors. Maps of the empire floated in the air, showing the 3 rebel systems in red. The queen stood at the head of the table, her face hard. "Advisor," she said when he entered, "these 3 governors want me to execute you, reverse all my reforms, and return to the old ways. If I refuse, they will attack." "What are you going to do?" The queen looked at him. "What do you think I should do?" The entire room turned to stare at him. A human advisor being asked for his opinion on matters of war. It was unprecedented. Studied the maps. 3 systems, 3 governors, all of them powerful but not as powerful as the Central Fleet. "Call their bluff," he said. "Explain," the queen ordered. "They are betting you will not fight. They think you have gone soft. Prove them wrong. Send the fleet. Show them you are strong enough to enforce your new laws, not just speak them." "That could mean war," one of the officers said. "Yes, but backing down means showing weakness, and weakness invites more rebellion." Looked at the queen. "You can be merciful and strong, but you cannot be merciful and weak. They need to learn the difference." The queen studied the maps for a long moment, then she nodded. "Prepare the fleet. We move in 2 days." The officers scrambled to obey. As the room emptied, the queen stopped. "You just advised me to go to war," she said quietly. "I thought humans valued peace." "We do, but we also value justice, and sometimes justice requires strength." "You are full of contradictions." "I am full of human experience. We learned a long time ago that bullies only understand force." The queen smiled slightly. Then we will teach these governors a lesson." But as left the meeting, he felt a cold fear in his chest. War was coming, and he had helped start it. All because he once said no to a queen. He wondered, not for the first time, if honesty was worth the cost. Then he thought of begging for her life, of all the servants who had died for nothing. Yes, he decided it was worth it, even if it killed him. The fleet left 2 days later, 50 warships, the pride of the Empire, heading toward the rebel systems. The crystalline palace felt empty with so many ships gone. The queen watched them go from her throne room, stood beside her silent. "I have never started a war I did not want," she said quietly. "Usually I wanted them. Conquest is what do. This is different. You are defending your right to change. Or defending my right to keep a human advisor." She looked at him. "Is that worth a war?" "That is for you to decide." Before she could answer, alarms blared throughout the palace. Red lights flashed. A guard ran into the throne room. "Your Majesty, enemy ships have appeared. They jumped past our fleet. They are here." The queen stood up. "How many?" 15 ships. They are in attack formation." His blood went cold. The rebel governors had not waited for the fleet to arrive. They had come straight for the palace, straight for the queen. The palace shook as the first weapons hit the shields. Through the windows, could see the attacking ships, dark against the purple of the gas giant. "Evacuate the palace," the queen ordered. "Get everyone to the shelters." "Your Majesty, you must evacuate too," the guard said. "I will not run from traitors." The guard looked like he wanted to argue, but he knew better. He ran to organize the evacuation. Grabbed the queen's arm. "This is not courage, this is pride. If you die, everything we have worked for dies with you. If I run, I prove them right, that I am weak." "You are not weak, you are smart. There is a difference." Another blast hit the shields. The palace shook harder. Crystal ornaments fell from shelves and shattered. "Please," said, "trust me one more time." The queen looked at him, then she nodded, "To the shelters." They ran through corridors filled with panicking servants and guards, saw helping an injured noble. He saw directing people to safety. Even in chaos, people were helping each other. The shelters were deep underground, carved from solid rock. They were meant to survive anything, even a direct hit from a planet-killer weapon. The queen and were the last ones in. The door sealed behind them with a heavy thud. Inside, hundreds of people crowded together. Servants and nobles and humans, all equal in their fear. The palace shook, lights flickered, someone screamed. Found himself thinking about his engineering training. The palace shields were strong, but they had limits. 15 ships could break them eventually, and when they did, the palace would die. Unless someone changed the equation. "Your Majesty," said, "the palace shield system, where are the controls?" "In the security center." "Why?" "Because I used to design environmental systems on Earth. Shields work on similar principles. If I can reconfigure them, I might be able to strengthen them." The queen stared at him. "You want to go out there during an attack? Do you have a better idea?" She did not. She called for guards to escort him but refused. "They are needed here to protect everyone. I can move faster alone." Before the queen could argue, he was gone. The corridors were empty now. Everyone was in the shelters, ran through the crystal hallways following signs to the security center. The palace shook around him. Chunks of ceiling fell. Windows cracked. He reached the security center and sealed the door behind him. Screens covered the walls, showing every angle of the attack. The rebel ships were focusing fire on the main shield generators. Pulled up the shield controls. They were written in script, but he had learned to read it over the past months. He studied the energy flow, the distribution patterns. There he saw the problem. The shields were optimized for appearance, making them glow and sparkle. Beautiful but inefficient. Typical thinking. He started typing commands. redirecting power from the visual systems to the structural ones, reinforcing weak points, rotating the shield frequency to confuse the weapon's targeting. Outside, the rebel ships fired again. This time the shields held better. The palace barely shook. Worked faster. He pulled power from non-essential systems. Lights, heating, decorative fountains. Everything that did not keep people alive got shut down. All of it went to the shields. The rebel commander must have noticed the change. The ships changed tactics, spreading out, trying to find weak points, but was ready. He had designed these kinds of systems. He knew how they thought. He worked for an hour, maybe more. Time blurred. His fingers flew over the controls. The palace held. Then the door exploded inward. 3 soldiers stood there, not palace guards, rebel marines. They must have teleported in during the attack. "The human advisor," one of them said. "Perfect. Kill him and the queen loses her mind. The war ends." Stood up slowly. "The queen will not lose her mind. She is stronger than you think. She is weak, corrupted by human nonsense." The soldier raised his weapon. "Any last words?" Thought about that. He thought about begging for her life, about all the servants who had died in fear. "Yes," he said. "No." The soldier looked confused. "What?" "No, I will not give you the satisfaction of last words. I will not beg. I will not make this easy for you." Crossed his arms. "If you are going to kill me, then kill me. But know that it will not change anything. The queen has already changed. The empire has already changed. Killing me just makes me a martyr." The soldier hesitated. That hesitation saved life. The queen appeared in the doorway behind the soldiers. Her scepter was glowing. "Drop your weapons." The soldiers spun around. One fired at her. The blast hit her shoulder, spinning her backwards. She fell. Moved without thinking. He grabbed a piece of fallen crystal from the floor and threw it at the soldier. It hit his faceplate, cracking it. The soldier stumbled. Then the palace shook, not from weapons fire, from something else. The queen's fleet had arrived. Through the windows saw them. 50 warships dropping out of hyperspace, weapons hot. They had returned early, must have detected the attack. The rebel ships tried to retreat. Too late. The queen's fleet opened fire. Space lit up with weapons fire. The rebel marines in the security center looked at their odds. 3 of them, 1 injured queen, 1 unarmed human, and 50 warships outside. They dropped their weapons. Ran to the queen. She was bleeding, her silver blood spreading across her robes. He pressed his hands against the wound. "I am fine," she said. Her voice was weak. "You are not fine, you are shot." "I have been shot before." She tried to stand, stumbled, caught her. Medics arrived moments later. They took the queen to the medical center, followed, ignoring the protests of the guards. He had saved her life twice today. He was not leaving her now. The battle outside ended quickly. The rebel ships were destroyed or captured. The rebel marines teleported back to their ships, trying to escape. Most did not make it. In the medical center, doctors worked on the queen. The wound was serious but not fatal. She would live. When she woke up hours later, was sitting beside her bed. "You should be celebrating," she said. Her voice was rough. "We won. You got shot protecting me. That does not feel like winning." "I got shot protecting my advisor. There is a difference." She tried to sit up, winced. "What you did with the shields, that was brilliant. It was just engineering. It saved the palace. It saved everyone." She looked at him seriously. "Why did you do it? You could have stayed in the shelter, been safe." Thought about his answer. "Because you were right. If you died, everything we worked for would die too. I could not let that happen." "So you risked your life for an idea." "No, I risked my life for you." The queen was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "I do not deserve that kind of loyalty." "Maybe not, but you are trying to deserve it. That is enough." Over the next weeks, the empire changed rapidly. The 3 rebel governors were captured and put on trial. Like Orr, They were sentenced to prison instead of death. Some nobles grumbled, but most stayed quiet. The queen had proven she could be merciful and strong. The reforms continued. Servants got rights. Nobles got accountability. The empire was not perfect, but it was better. Found himself busier than ever. As chief advisor, he helped write new laws. He trained other advisors. He taught nobles about concepts like fairness and justice. Some of them listened, others did not, but enough listened that change spread. One day, 6 months after the battle, was in the gardens. Had been promoted to head gardener. She was showing him a new flower she had bred, mixing earth and species. "It is beautiful," said. "It is a hybrid, two different worlds making something new," smiled. "Kind of like what you are doing." "I am just trying to help." "You are doing more than helping, you are changing everything." She touched the flower gently. "A year ago I thought I would die in this palace. Now I have a future, we all do, because of you." Shook his head. "Not because of me, because people were ready for change. I just said no when everyone else said yes." The queen found him later in his office. He had an actual office now with a desk and everything. It still felt strange. "I have a question," the queen said. She looked nervous. "What is it?" "That first day, when I blamed you for the cleaning solution, when I told you to kneel." She sat down across from him. "Why did you say no, really?" Considered the question. "Because I had nothing left to lose. My planet was gone. My family was dead. Death was just another day." "And now, do you still have nothing to lose?" He thought about that, about in her flowers, about now captain of the guard, about the queen herself working every day to be better than she was. "No," he said slowly. "Now I have everything to lose, and that terrifies me." "Good," the queen said. "Fear means you care, and caring means you are alive." She stood to leave, then paused. "Thank you for saying no, for showing me I could be more than a killer. Thank you for listening." After she left, looked out his window. The gas giant turned slowly below, purple and blue and beautiful. The same view he had seen from the transport ship a year ago. Then he had been going to his death. Now he was helping build something new. All because he said one simple word, no. He smiled. Sometimes, he thought, the smallest acts of defiance changed everything. And sometimes, the most powerful thing in the universe was not weapons or ships or empires. It was one person refusing to accept that cruelty was inevitable. It was one person insisting that there was a better way. It was one person saying no and meaning it. Turned back to his work. There was still so much to do, so many laws to write, so many people to help. But for the first time since Earth fell, he felt something he thought he had lost forever. Hope. And that, he decided, was worth everything.